except a lot of these things are things you cannot test. The pyrotechnics, right? A lot of that is pyrotechnically used. So you can put pyrotechnics in there, you can test it on the ground. Yes, it didn't work, yes, it didn't work. Now,
Every time you replace it, new
replace the
pyrotechnics, are
pyrotechnics.
they gonna work?
When you launch it, they go through shock, vibration, all kinds of crap, and you don't know when it gets out there, whether those pyrotechnics and the deployment is gonna work again.
Well, the Hubble, they checked the curvature there, and they did two tests, the new test and the old test.
Yeah.
The old test was set up improperly. The new test showed it was screwed up. They did the old test, it shows okay. Well, we used the old test for years, so it's gotta be okay.
Yeah.
So that's, because they're under a crunch to get it out, so bingo.
I think there's a lot of politics involved with that.
Well, I mean, if you're not ready to get, all liquidated damages,
Yeah, 'cause they did
speeds up by
test
day
it.
or by week, if you have to pay it, you're not
Somebody wanted to know.
sure they were, you're not scheduled.
I think there'll be a lot of people sitting around with their fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Change when it goes up.
Who's launching, Hubble? SpaceX or something?
What do you mean? James Webb.
Well, yeah.
I think that's NASA.
That's NASA's doing that, so they,
NASA, I think, I'm not sure.
it's NASA.
I know I could get shot for saying that, but I have a little more trust in SpaceX now than I do NASA. We'll see what happens.
Just so you know, we're live on YouTube right now. We have you on record now.
We don't warn us.
All right, let's see, I originally said we're gonna start the meeting at 6, then I sent out an email saying 6:30, so we wait until 6:30. So I would say, give it a little, add another 10 minutes.
Oh, my wife and I took our camper down there to go see the horses or
Yes.
I didn't know it, but we drove right onto Wallops Island.
It's right next door.
And there was a rocket scheduled to be launched Friday and the Saturday. We were there.
Mhm.
We waited both times.
And then you kept
It
waiting.
didn't go.
Yeah.
But I was right there. It was closest surprise I've ever been.
That was my experience trying to see a shuttle launch. Never happened.
Well, it didn't for me either.
I think that
And the audio is working now.
the audio from back there.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was cloudy in Bermuda. It didn't go.
I keep getting that thing to work at school,
But not here.
It came with my microphone, but not here. And I don't know if it's because every time I switch to the camera instead of the mic,
Yeah.
it goes, oh, something happened. That's so frustrating.
See you for a while.
Hey, right? I told you, man.
I know.
I had a, I remember the left turn coming off.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Man,
Well, it's been
I overshoot.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it occurred to me, I did send you the membership check, right?
Yeah, I would have sent you a reminder.
Okay. I couldn't remember. I was, walking today and embarrassed myself. I said, I forgot.
Don't worry, I wouldn't bring my money either.
That's right, you owe me money.
I do.
She doesn't like to pay, it's just, think about it.
It's not that I don't mind giving up the money. I hate the process.
That's what I mean, the process is the thing I can't stand.
It's $20. I only have 6.
See?
My line used to be, oh man, I left my wallet in the car.
Yeah.
We gotta set up PayPal.
Or Venmo.
Yeah. Something like
There you go. Too, because I was thinking, when I get the cable, bring it in the planetarium, and I can actually live stream the planetarium stuff, but it's too dark.
Oh, so you like.
You need a lot of light, and even with the settings I had, you still couldn't really see anything. It's so frustrating. I'm like, I'm not gonna ask the school to buy like a.
Look at the money they gave you.
Yeah, right. That's right, they gotta move everything.
Viewpoints spelled just like the other view.
That doesn't really work well.
Where are those two scopes made? Where in the United States?
Teleview is an interesting one because they do all the assembly at their facility here in the United States. But most of the parts are made in the nation.
I think he's specifically in Japan for that.
Sorry, what?
I think Al has it, I think they're done in Japan versus China.
So, some Japan, some
Okay.
Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan and.
Yeah, he basically sources it out for the best price.
Right.
So they don't actually make any of their own optics, but what they tell you what it is they have really good quality control. And I talked to Al a couple of times about problems he has getting good, say, lenses for place to. He said they reject them about half.
Like a 69-year-old mine,
Just doesn't mean.
Berkeley Springs.
Television.
We don't
They have to
get
pay
away.
for it anyway. So,
Made in China. Anyways.
yeah, in the beginning, it was mostly.
But where we wound up was we rented this cabin for a weekend. And it's up on the down, and the horizon is very
I
low.
wonder why none of they do.
The only thing, the downer was, we had pretty much cloud.
If you look at the prices,
I say,
Would have been a really nice
Yeah.
site if it was.
Stellar View really is made
in the summer, just
as an
as
astrophysics.
they even call it
Telescope
starry,
engineering company in Colorado.
starry night every day.
You know, but they still have to buy their gas. Nobody makes that kind of.
Well, definitely closer than Cherry Springs.
Some of it comes from Russia.
4 hours.
Ellsworth, for example, makes glass.
I would say about an hour and a half. So, yeah.
Really not bad.
Japan,
Berkeley Springs, they have a spring, but it's an old dome. Really good place for like spa. I don't know if you, they have actual springs where I go hang out. Get younger. Yeah. Money back. So, yeah, we have a place.
The refractor making in the solar industry is a tough game, as opposed to reflectors. There's so much. Reflectors are basically the electric cars.
So did it just so happen to be a fewer people?
Electric cars.
Did you guys turn some away? Well,
There's no restriction on
yeah.
there. Yeah, so you know, we're- no restriction. Like we had one last time.
There's not much there.
Really?
And you get those.
Yeah, that's way down than we did last.
You know, one of these days,
So just one, I couldn't make it for whatever reason. I just couldn't make it.
but we have to learn how to make it.
You know, it's a new world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another update on James Webb.
Okay, here's an update on the Webb telescope.
It looks like, based on something posted yesterday, that It's going to launch a couple weeks later than October 31st. They just pushed it back to late November. And they said it's launching on a European Ariane 5 rocket from a spaceport in French Guiana. And
That's a good one.
and that rocket has been grounded for a bit because of some problems with the fairing. So
That's not good.
no,
I wonder if the fairing is custom made for the telescope.
yeah,
Probably.
I would bet.
Probably to hold that, yeah.
The fairing is the metal thing that they wrap around the payload, which is not really part of the rocket. And they're probably at this point about 1 million fairings over our head right now. So,
Right.
Oh my God.
Is that the same as a nose cone or inside the nose
Well, the nose cone is generally what
Well, it is.
encapsulates.
It is, yeah,
everything
it would be.
you're on.
cone? Oh, I mean, the top part of the rocket, whatever you call that.
It sits on top of the rocket, but it doesn't necessarily look like a cone at all. It doesn't really have to be aerodynamic because a rocket is like a bulldozer on steroids. It's going to get through the atmosphere no matter what the shape of the thing is. It's going to get up there. So all they have to do is make sure it doesn't fall apart until it gets above the atmosphere. It doesn't take very long. How long does it take to get to like 80,000 feet on a rocket? I bet you
Depends how big your rocket
Oh,
is.
yeah, because it starts pretty slow. and
2-3
then it
minutes
picks
at
it
the
up.
most. It does something like that.
A couple minutes.
The max dynamic pressure that a rocket sees is very low compared to in the atmosphere
Yes.
high-speed airplane. So it doesn't see very much Q, 1/2 rho V squared going out of the atmosphere.
Okay, I didn't have any announcements to make other than this.
This
Okay.
meeting started yet?
Yeah.
5 minutes into the meeting.
Right now.
Can I see hands, can we start the meeting? Okay, so the library has, like the state, the library rescinded how many people can be in the room, so we're past that hurdle. The next hurdle is masks, and without naming names, I suspect that by the time we have our July meeting, all the mask rules will be gone. Okay, so we will be back to just like we used to be, a little older maybe, maybe a little more robust. At that point, we'll start opening our meetings up to the public, if that happens. The problem I had with this meeting was the library said that, and this is their rule, not the state, that if we open the meetings to the public, we all have to wear masks. So I said, no, this is our first, if we have members only, it's our first chance to get together without masks, unless you want to wear one, of course. So let's make this one just members only. The next one will, if they get rid of the mask rule, then we'll be back to the old days. Any questions about that? Good, because I don't have any answers. Anybody have any comments about current events? What's going on right now?
Yeah, I do. I read yesterday that Orion purchased Mead,
Yes.
and I was just curious, historically, on a buyout or a merger like that, what can we expect as far as their merchandise goes? Any idea, like, is the Mead name gonna eventually disappear? It's all gonna become Orion? Are they gonna, I mean, is there a precedent in this field? Like, on what we could expect to see in the near future?
Well, it's really hard to say, because look at what happened to Celestron. Back when Celestron was about to fail in the 90s, Mead wanted to buy them, but I forgot which federal agency said no, because then you'd have a monopoly. So of course the Chinese jumped in and bought Celestron. So we lost Celestron because of our, I think, rather arcane rules around monopoly. And then of course later on Mead gave up the ghost, and they got bought by a Chinese company. So, and in that time, the two Chinese companies that own Mead and Celestron started incorporating a lot of their own products into the Celestron line and Mead line. So at this point, as far as I know, nothing about Mead or Celestron are made in the United States at all. I think Mead held out a few years longer in terms of making telescopes domestically than Celestron did, but not very long. So what does it mean when Orion buys them? They can do whatever they want. But I don't think, look at it this way. Orion could have bought the Mead products and rebranded them with their name from the Chinese company that owned Mead. That's done quite a bit. If you look at a UK astronomy publication, you'll see lots of scopes in there that look like a Mead 8. Well, they are a Mead 8 or a Celestron, just rebranded. So are they going to do that? I don't think so, because otherwise, why buy the name? Why would you bother to buy the Mead name unless you were going to use the Mead? Because that's it. When you get down to it, that's what they actually bought, was just the name. It certainly didn't buy the Chinese company that made Mead, that owned Mead, made Meads. So I think there's a lot of details yet that have to come out on that before we'll understand it. Does that help?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was any precedent, like the name Mead's gonna disappear eventually, or everything's gonna be from Orion. I was just curious
Yeah.
if there was any kind of precedent.
Nothing I can think of.
I think we need more engineers in the world, fewer MBAs that do mergers and acquisitions. That's what we need, engineers and scientists, not MBAs.
I couldn't agree with you more. But the NBA has put up a big fight, Any other events anybody can think of? Don't forget the June 10th. Anybody want to talk about that?
5:45, make sure you're looking
East.
northeast,
got a
over
good
some
view.
plains.
Right.
Don't have a mountain or a tree in the way. Bring your eclipse glasses and take a look. We should get a nice crescent sun rising up, and for about an hour, it'll take for the moon to pass
Completely
to the
on.
left of it.
When it rises, it's going to be about a 70% cover.
That's
So you can't miss it. Does anybody remember how many degrees a fist is?
10.
Okay. Here, so to get the problem in your head, the eclipse is over at about 8 degrees. So the point is, it's even the last bit of the eclipse will still be very low.
So go to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
I sent out an email to everybody. I didn't get that presentation. So if you need to look on it for details, it's on there. But yeah, it's going to be short. It's going to be 5:35 to about 6:30, and then it's done.
Something like that.
This is June 10th.
June
June
10th.
10th.
Right.
So
Thursday.
40% chance of rain.
Yeah.
Of
But if,
course.
yeah, of course. But if like
And the other thing that would say to you, not only you need a reduced horizon as low as you can get, but there better be no clouds at all. Because, there's the aspect ratio of the clouds. On a day when you got a lot of puffy convection clouds around, it can be clear overhead, but if you look along the horizon, it's pretty much blocked out by clouds. So it doesn't take much of a cloud cover to block the horizon. So cross your fingers. Anything else anybody can think of? Okay, so here's the plan. Bob, are you starting to talk? Good.
Yes.
Okay, and Tom, you're following up. Okay, so come on up. And,
wait, one thing, where he gets set up, I have that drawing for the telescope that was donated. I might as well do that now.
Sure, why
You
not?
good? Get it off the way. So don't forget it then. Well, yeah, you come up, I'll put it up. 6 people opted to put their name in. You all saw the email on this, it was an ETX 90. So, I got 6 tickets in here. Somebody put your name, put your name.
No.
Is that, 6 club members with their name?
Yeah.
Oh, there.
The kind of scope, is it?
It's read the name off.
So, looking at, 809009.
Now turn around.
Well, then you got 600608.
No. Back is I put a name.
Elliot Boyer.
Okay. He's not here.
Okay.
What was that, PPX 90?
Yeah. 3.5 inch. That's the color.
Oh, and real quick, on the 22nd to the 24th, Mars will be moving through the Beehive cluster. So if you're looking toward the Beehive cluster on the 22nd and 24th, you'll see a big red thing in there too.
Okay. And the emphasis is personal experience with cataract surgery. I'm not a medical professional, nor do I play one on television. I know what happened to me, and I know what kind of research I did before what happened to me. A little bit background, I've been in observational astronomy only since the late 80s. I don't fool around with photographs or anything like that. No interest there. I want to see what I want to see. That's all I do. So, of course, this is pretty critical that you have good vision while you're doing this. I brought some notes for myself, so I cover these things in order. Normally, I don't do this, but I want to make sure I talk about everything here. I'm not going to be able to give anybody any kind of medical information. There's many types of cataract solutions out there, and I chose one after a lot of research, and this is my personal story about it. Just about my entire life, I had 20/15 vision. I was like the guy that could spot, the road signs from a mile away, the planes way out there. Until the 1950s, in my 50s, because I was born in 1950. In my 50s, I started to need readers, as most people do. You don't have that focusing anymore. Your focusing mechanism kind of wears out. So I started with readers in my 50s. Distance vision still 20/15. About 3 years ago, my vision started to change dramatically. I have the kind of cataracts that, go along, and the optometrist, when he checks your eyes for glasses, says, "You're getting cataracts, you're getting cataracts, you're getting cataracts," and all of a sudden, boom, I had them. Where there were really, really a big difference in my vision. Distant vision started getting bad. At night, I would have rainbow halos around all bright lights, even in the telescope. I could still focus on the stars and get pinpoint stars in my scope, but I was starting to see these rainbow halos around things that were bright. Of course, I went for different prescriptions for my glasses. Optometrist looked at me and said, "You're starting cataracts." I'm going I think I got them already, but they changed my glasses a couple times to try to correct it. Told me I had a little astigmatism, which Tom will talk about it later. But basically what was happening was the typical cataract, where the lens, which is a healthy lens here, is clear and transparent. You're seeing colors the way they should be shown. You're seeing things crystal clear all the time. Now, a cataract lens, not only does it change colors a little bit, which I noticed dramatically, but it also makes things fuzzier. Your lights at night are starting to look, instead of pinpoint, they're starting to get fuzzy. I really didn't ever have that non-pinpoint, except at distance. My distance vision was going differently. So the prescriptions that I kept getting for glasses for about a year or 2 years, they weren't fixing it. Every time the optometrist, oh, we'll do your glasses again, we'll get you right. Well, no, they didn't. Now, the interesting thing about my particular case was that my distance vision got worse, but all of a sudden, I had great near vision. So now, my old bifocals, which were for both, because I had regular glasses now for my little bit of astigmatism and for reading, instead of just junky readers for $2 at Walmart, I was using bifocals. So my distance vision got near perfect. I'm going like, wow, this is great. Now I'm out with my telescope. Remember, I still have these halos. Well, I'm out with my telescope and I use charts. I use my cell phone with Sky Safari. Now this is wonderful. My readers, I don't need them anymore. I'm dialing my scope in. I'm looking at charts. I'm doing everything. Of course, my scope can still focus properly. I'm enjoying this. I'm not fumbling in the dark anymore with glasses. I just leave them in the house. What about my scope? Which was a big epiphany for me. Wow, I like being without glasses now. I like being able to use my computer without glasses. But what wasn't good about this whole thing was that I still had the rainbow halos. And then as it progressed, and those of you that have been observing for a long time, especially sometimes up at Cherry Springs, talking to somebody, looking at my scope, everything looks clear. Then all of a sudden I look in and I go, oh, I'm dewed up. Because now, and we all know what dew looks like on telescopes, if you've been out there long enough that it dews up, all of a sudden you see the star, but it looks cloudy every place around that star. So first time this happens to me, I'm going, oh my gosh, took the scope into the house. It was after a while, and I'm looking at the scope, there's no dew. I'm going, now I'm starting to be bothered. Now when I'm using my telescope, it looks like I'm in dew, and there is no dew. So that was the big change. So, as luck would have it, because my optometrist was still telling me, you're getting cataracts someday in the near future, we'll talk about that. I went with my wife to her ophthalmologist. She was gone because she was getting closer to having cataracts, but needless to say, I beat her there. So I went to the ophthalmologist, the eye surgeon, and I said, I want my cataracts taken out. They said, well, who recommended you? I said, well, I know I got them. And so sat down, talked to the surgeon for a while, and I discussed all my options for getting lenses, because this is going to come out in cataract surgery. That comes out. I don't want to get into the gory details about the surgery, but each eye takes less than 10 minutes, painless, absolutely no problem getting the surgery. If you're nervous about it, or if you haven't had cataract surgery, I haven't had cataract surgery here. Oh, good. I'm an expert now.
You're number one.
You're saying the lens comes out?
Yeah, they take that all out. I'll briefly tell you what they do. They take a little microscopic type tool, they go in there, some way they emulsify the whole lens. The lens is kind of semi-solid. They emulsify the lens, go in with another little device that vacuums it all out. So it's gone. Now you have no lens. Then they take, depending on the kind of lens you want implanted, and we'll talk about that, that's why I'm here tonight, is they'll take it, make a little slit, shove the lens in, it unfolds, because it's folded up, it unfolds, the surgeon makes sure that it's centered, because you're getting a new lens that's not quite as big as this, and the lens sits here, and then there's these little springs that come out that hold it in place, so it doesn't float around in this area.
So no pyrotechnics required to get it to unfold?
No, no. However, sometimes when it unfolds, because it's basically folded in half, sometimes when it unfolds, you'll have a fold in the plastic or whatever this thing is in. It's called a encapsulated sac problem. And what they can do is, if you have this, you'll see spikes. The spikes will be in whatever direction the fold is. So if you have one horizontal or vertical, it'll just be diffraction spikes, strong diffraction spikes. My surgeon, I gotta get back here. My surgeon scheduled me for the third week in March 2020. My surgery got canceled, naturally. And in the interim, before I went back, my surgeon retired. So now when I went back, fortunately, her daughter came into the practice. Very sharp girl, excellent surgeon. So she came in and I felt right at home. I mean, she talked to me right away, told her I was into astronomy, told her everything that I wanted to accomplish, what I felt my solution was going to be, and she agreed. And so we were right back to square one, and then it was done. One eye was done, my right eye was done. Then was do your worst eye. Do your worst eye first, and then 5 days later she does your other eye. That's why you don't do it both at once, because what happens if something goes really, really bad? You know, you want to kind of recover, and you do. After like, I come right out of surgery. By the time I was out of surgery, I'm looking around with my new eye. So it's fast. It's not like you got to take weeks of recovery. Okay, so needless to say, when I was talking to both my ophthalmologists, the mother and the daughter, I discussed all the options about what I wanted, what kind of lens I wanted to go in here. And there are lots on the market. And I'm not going to go into them all. They have some latest ones that actually somehow attach in here and will semi-focus with your own normal eye lens with every one of the options they have. Nothing's perfect. The ones that they put in there that kind of semi-focus yourself, generally people still need readers. It does for most of the stuff, middle vision, distance vision, but you still need some kind of help, one way or the other, either distance or near. Then there are single vision lenses, which is what I got, and I'll get to that. But of course, in this modern day of the 21st century, when you've got a medical problem, what do? Google it, search it. You know, you exhaustively search because you know you have got a problem and you want a solution and you want the one that makes you happy. So of course, I spent a ton of time on cloudy nights. Those of you who aren't aware of it, cloudy nights is like an astronomy forum for amateurs. I mean, it's got telescope ran forums, it's got observing, it's got, I mean, you name the kind of interest. Photography, lots of discussion groups on that. So of course I typed in cataract surgery, cataracts, you know, again and again and again. And what I found was most people did what they've experienced in life, which is what I experienced years ago with needing readers in my early 50s. And so most people choose single vision lenses because they have multifocus ones that are like bifocal lenses in your eyes, where you can use them for both reading and distance. The problem with those is, just like real bifocals, you're going to have diffraction spikes when you're in that zone between the two. And so my surgeon said, I would not recommend you go with multifocal lenses. So I looked at things, and like I said, most people on cloudy nights that had cataract surgery all chose what they already knew. They got infinity lenses put in, and they went back to using readers. Good solution for them. Meanwhile, I'm living my life a happy camper, not needing glasses except to see distance. So I chose near vision lenses. Single focus, near vision. Perfect vision for me is 16 inches away. But distance vision, luckily, I have just enough astigmatism that my distance vision is 20/30. So I can drive, I can function normally. You know, not everybody here is crystal clear, but I can see and recognize faces. I can go out and see constellations, but I don't see pinpoint stars without using these. These are my distance vision glasses. So I'm doing the opposite of what most people do. Distance vision, I put these on, crystal clear, everybody in the room, stars are pinpoint, no bifocals. I tried them right after my surgery. I tried bifocals. The problem with bifocals is, now that I have these fixed distance lenses, the bifocals don't work generically They work right here. If I move, I don't see right. So I gotta see everything exactly in one spot for the distance that I'm going at. So I said, I don't want these. I don't need these at all to read. Use my computer, use my telescope. I don't need anything at all to do my normal routine daily. When I go to drive, I put these on so I can still see the road signs a quarter mile down the road, but I don't need these for life. So if something happens to me, I'm fine. And like I said, my normal routine of doing things is computer, the phone, reading books, doing other things, using my telescope all the time, so I love it. I'm like in love with what I chose. Now, that's not for everybody. Some people decide, and I saw a lot of this on the internet, to get a distance lens in one eye and a near focus in the other eye. It's called monovision. I don't know why it's called monovision. I would think monofocal lenses would be monovision. That's so that your brain then picks the eye that's best for what you're looking at. And your brain automatically does it. And I heard a lot of people went for that. I prefer not to do that because number one, if you're going to use your telescope and you decide to use your other eye for whatever reason, now you're going to be refocusing it every time you use it. So I went with near vision, which puts me in the real small minority of people on cloudy nights that all had cataract surgery. They all chose what they knew. But since I had the experience for about a year before of seeing well without any aids at all, that's why I went in that direction. And some people I've told this to, they said, oh, maybe you should tell people about this. It's not for everybody. I mean, it's not for everybody. I've talked about most of the things here. Now, one of the things, and Tom's going to talk more about this, is my astigmatism. I went through, and he'll talk about these teleview lenses, dioptrics they call. During the period when I started to get cataracts, through the period when I got surgery, I went from trying 1 diopter to 1.5 diopter to 2.5 diopter to try to get the right diopter to make me happy. They weren't working for me. Little did I know it was because I had cataracts. So I tried all these diopters. I'm thinking they work for so many people. Why aren't they working for me? So that was the basic problem. Was the fact that my lenses are back to normal. My astigmatism in one eye is 1.25 and 1.75 in the other eye. Now, funny thing about it is, my right eye was my worst eye that did first. Now it's my best eye. Yes.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but why can't they put in a lens that lets you see near and far? Why?
They do. They have. It's like
Okay.
a bifocal lens.
Oh,
But they're not good for astronomy
right.
because you're going to see spikes when you're looking in that section that is the near section
Right.
or the far section, or where you have that break, just like with regular bifocals.
Well, I guess why can't they mimic somebody who has 20/20 vision both near and far? Why can't they just, model the lens off of?
Because the lenses are solid, right?
Yeah,
They're
it's
not like a.
They're not flexible.
no, they're
Okay.
See, your natural lens is flexible and the muscles.
right. The
Okay.
muscles
Stretch
pull
it
the
and
lens
relax
or
it.
or
You're
relax
actually
it
changing the focal length.
to change the focal length. Exactly.
But that's why you're talking about the autofocusing ones. They're trying to mimic that. I see. Okay.
Yeah, and the one they're trying to mimic, and I've seen pictures of it, and it's significantly smaller. And they say that some people see around the lens they have in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I got to be honest with you, I can see right at the edge of my vision, depending on I'm looking, I can see the edge of the lens.
Wow.
It's not in peripheral vision, it's a weird thing. If I look for it, I can't see it. But sometimes when I look at somebody, I'll see that little lens. Now, they say you can deal with your ophthalmologist with getting the maximum size lens for your eye. However, the maximum size lens also causes things because now they've got to make a bigger slit to get the maximum size lens in. And I talked to my ophthalmologist about that, and she said, listen, you're going to have the best vision for you that you want with going with a monofocal, regular size lens. And I am perfectly happy. Like I said, once in a while, it looks to me like I have a hair hanging down there. It's not distracting. I'm used to it now, and I get used to it right away. One of the things that was surprising was that immediately upon coming out of surgery, and I was sitting there, they watch you for a little while and make sure nothing bad happens. And I looked at the end of a long hallway right outside of the recovery room, and I was reading with my just fixed eye, I was reading the no exit sign. And I went like, all right, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to live my life without glasses, even though I knew, and my ophthalmologist could not promise me that I wouldn't need glasses to drive. But after testing 20/30 right on the nose, I'm good to drive without glasses. So if I take an eye test, I'll pass the eye test, but it's not gonna be perfect. Like I said, I'm absolutely happy with the choice that I made. It might just be my own preference. Somebody else might say, well, I want to see pinpoint stars at night all the time, and I'll use readers. And I understand that, and I honor that, if anybody's really into that. That will work for you, and then it will work for, whatever. It's really a matter of personal decision-making and weighing all the options for lenses. The lens that I was talking about that it actually mimics the adjustment is called a crystal lens. And there's great things about it, but there's other things that I looked at when I said, no, I'm just gonna go monofocal with just lenses.
So what you're saying, just to follow up on what you said, like he was saying, couldn't you mimic the actual lens that you're born with to be able to do the near and far? But like you say, you can't, because there's a flexibility, I guess, that the muscles and adjust that flexible. So that's why you have to pick near or far vision. And you picked near because you knew your far was fine.
Right.
And do you get, when you're observing with a telescope then, you don't have any, is it still pinpoints and everything?
Pinpoints, I still have floaters once in a while that come by,
Right.
which didn't change. I mean, it's not any worse or better. I look past them. But I can pinpoint. I wish seeing was better in Pennsylvania. I like enjoying this. Seeing is terrible in Pennsylvania. But when seeing's perfect, they're pinpoint stars, very little amount of diffraction around the star. They come right to point, look like little miniature, tiny, tiny suns. Perfect. And I'm happy with everything that turned out. I had no complications. The day after the surgery, the day of the surgery, they put over this piece of it's like a plexiglass thing with holes in it. And the holes, meaning just so you don't touch your eye. They don't want you to touch your eye for the first 24 hours. And after 24 hours, you only have to wear that at night. You tape it over yourself, over your eye at night, so you don't bump it by accident for a week. Now you're doing eye drops the day before surgery, and then for the next 30 days for both eyes. The funny part about it is you walk around the first day, and I'm looking for these holes to see what I can see. The most amazing thing was walking into my bathroom to clean up after, the adhesive and other stuff on it. And I look at the sink and I'm going, oh my God, it must be lit from underneath the white. It was brilliant white. I mean, brilliant. Now I'm used to it now, but it was like, oh wow, look at that white. Also, they say a lot of colors will change. I never really noticed a lot of colors changing. I noticed that the headlights on my car work twice as good as I ever thought they did. Because I used to think, man, I need new headlights or something. I don't now. The other thing is, the weirdest thing, and this is the thing I still enjoy, is every green light on a traffic light looks this brilliant neon green. They always look dark green to me. I mean, it was a pleasant color, but now I laugh to myself whenever I see a green light because it looks brilliantly neon green. I guess the yellow in the lens was starting to change those things, but that's the funny thing that I noticed. One of the things I'll just leave you with is you really have to talk to your own ophthalmologist. Pick a good one, find somebody you trust, talk about astronomy a lot. One of the things you can do is, and Tom and I talked about this before I did this, back in Sky and Telescope a few years ago. Do you remember when it was? About 5-6 years ago, there was an article by Kathy and Jury Oltion, who did an article about cataracts and cataract surgery. It's a very good article, and they have it on their website. If you type in Ultion, it's like ultion.com or something like that. And I'll leave it up here if anybody's interested in reading it. It's a horror story. The wife, Kathy, had, not only did she have, from the first fold, she had diffraction spikes, but it went all wrong from there. Everything that was going on, she went to different ophthalmologists. It's truly a horror story. Now, Tom and I talked about me mentioning this. The only reason I have this article here is if anybody's really interested, I took this to my ophthalmologist's first appointment, and I said, this is not what I want to happen to me, you know? And of course, when I went back almost a year later to see her daughter, I said, you know this? And she says, I want to take this home tonight before I see you again. Now, that's what you want to hear. When you show somebody something like this and you say, these are some concerns I have, and for them to say, give me that. I want to see it. We'll talk again. Because that's when you know you've got a good surgeon. The guy that said, I've seen everything. No, I don't want him. These are the horror stories. This was, and it turned out well for the woman, but this is like a nightmare scenario. Briefly, surgery takes less than 10 minutes. You're awake the whole time. You're looking at a fuzzy light with your good eye that's not being operated on, and you're seeing the same thing with your eye that's being operated on. You don't see any tools coming in. You don't see them jamming anything. You don't feel anything. They give you Novocaine, and basically you're just looking at a fuzzy. Remember the old days about TV screens when you had static? That's what it looks like. You're just staring at that. And of course, she'll tell you, stay as still as you can. Well, you know me, man. I'm rock solid. I didn't move at all. And
Where did they stick the Novocaine needle? In your eye?
no, that's surface. Surface.
Yeah, they're eye drops.
Yeah. They just prep you up, and then they put a whole covering over so only your eye is sticking out. You don't even feel it. They put this clamp on to keep your eyelid open, but you don't feel it. I didn't feel it. They could have told me they didn't clamp me, and I would say, fine, yeah, that's good. Well, no, they clamped me, but you don't feel it. It's really an easy peasy thing. And you can see good. Like I said, I saw right after I got out of recovery. I'm looking down the hallway, and I'm going, all right, I can read that sign at the end of the hallway. It was about, I'd say it was a good 40 to 50 feet away. I could read exit only. Any questions about cataract surgery? Anything you want to know? Yes.
You have to be awake through the surgery?
Yes. You have to be awake.
Ew.
It's really not, everybody's hesitant. Oh, nobody's going to stick anything in my eye. And I know people that have not had it done, and they're suffering, and it's needless suffering. This is like an in and out thing. The biggest thing about it is putting eye drops in yourself for 30 days. That's the hardest problem, is putting the eye drops in. That's it.
I have a friend who had it done. He says, man, it's a walk.
It is. It really is. It really is. It is just something that once you have it done, you'll say, I waited too long. And I didn't wait too long. I mean, I was like, I was going to have it done when I really, really needed it.
There's an anesthesiologist there who's doing something.
Yeah, they're keeping you relaxed.
I just had eye surgery 5 weeks ago. And they took a Fusarium, which is a growth that goes over your eye. They took that off because they needed to do that before they could do my cataract. And in my case, for some dumb reason, my cornea did not heal in a week like it should have. In fact, 5 weeks later, yesterday, he took off the treatment they put on my eye with the contact lens over it to hold it in place. He took that off and tried to remove all the junk that was in there that didn't quite get dissolved yet. And my vision is still somewhat blurry on that eye. And when he took the contact lens off, it felt like it had sand in my eye. Because of all that stuff that was laying on my cornea. But when he put that thing on my eye a week or two ago that holds your eyelid out, I could feel at that time, but I didn't even know he did it when I had the surgery. But there, and you can see him poking around. In my case, I'm looking through my eye while he's working on it. And he gets a hold of this layer of stuff, and he says, "Oh, gee, it just peeled right off." Like he was thinking he might have to cut it off, right? He's puzzled that my cornea just didn't reconstruct itself. But your cornea doesn't heal like a wound. It only heals from the outside in. So I got this big layer of my eye where they took the stuff off that was missing the top, whatever. It's got to grow from the outside in. It didn't grow from the inside out. So that takes time. So I'm having cataract surgery on July 26th, and August 9th, my surgeon visit. And I have this new guy who's just out of training. And he's been in 5 years of training since med school, including the last year at Will's Eye. And he's a cornea specialist. That's his primary specialty, right? And he's puzzled because my cornea is not healing. And I'm thinking, wow. But the guy who I talked to last fall, I was like you. I was scheduled for last April. And then when I went in last fall, the guy that does the surgery where I go for my service and stuff, he said, "I can't do you. I don't do people like you. You got this thing in your eye. You got to get rid of it." So he sent me to a specialist, and he's all gung-ho on the latest thing you stick in your eye. Why in the world would you not want to get up in the morning and not wear glasses? He said, "You can't even see the big E without your glasses." And I'm thinking, you're crazy. And he was exaggerating. Because I took my glasses off and drove home. I didn't have any problem. But anyway, he was gung-ho for, now the current guy that I have, the new guy, he said, well, 90% of the people do the simple lens. And only about 10% of the people do. And I'm thinking, whatever they do probably isn't going to work for more than a couple of years, so I'm going to wear glasses anyway. I'm wearing glasses for whatever works. Who cares? But this is interesting about doing a near focus. Think about that. In the fold. How many people is it unfolded in a line?
Well, and they have a solution for that. There are two things that are common, I shouldn't say common, but could happen. When they're sucking out this lens, some microscopic things remain. They don't get it all. And those things can tend to reproduce and make it cloudy again. It's not a problem. It's the same solution for that in the fold, was they have a laser that can go in there and zap those things that are getting cloudy again. They're called secondary cataracts. And they also can go in there, and they told me this right away. They said, if you get that spike effect and it doesn't go away, mine went away the next day. I was out that night of surgery with my telescope. I ran it out, looked it down, and I'm going to see if this works. And sure enough, I came to focus, and I saw a little bit of a diffraction spike, going from northwest down to southeast. I'd say, oh, I wonder if this is going to go away. The next night I went out there, it's gone. So what she said was true. But they can go in there with a laser, and they zap that ever so slightly to make that unfold, because it's a temperature thing. It's a piece of plastic. Warm it up a little bit with a laser, and that should relax the fold and go away. And she says that's not. That and having some of the residual cataract in there are the two things that are most common. Both of them are easily taken care of. Not to be worried about. She said, the worst thing you got to worry about is not doing the eye drops and getting an infection. That's the biggest thing. Of course, I'm squeezing that stuff in all the time. I'm religious about it. You know, if it says do it 5 after 12, I'm doing it 5 after 12. You know, whatever it was, I did. And had no repercussions at all. And see good to this day. Okay, anything else? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can you pass that paper around?
I can.
If you need it, I have it scanned, and if you just email me, I'll send you a copy. A PDF.
Yeah, if you, yeah, I'll pass it around. This is the full, there was a shortened version in Sky and Telescope. This is from the guy's website. It's
So
about.
that's longer than the article.
It's like,
right?
yeah, it's like 12 pages with lots of gory photographs and all kinds of things. Of bad eyes and, you know, iris damage and all kinds of things.
Yeah, I have the article, I scanned the article with this guy, it was about 6 pages.
Yeah,
It's a really good, if you're gonna get it done, you gotta read that
Yeah,
thing.
you want your ophthalmologist to know this article and talk to you about your eye conditions before you go to somebody that says, sure, I'll throw some lenses in you. You don't want to have that. You want to tell them what you're doing if you're into astronomy, and then make the solution fit what you want to do. For me, it came out. You know, I couldn't ask for anything better. Now, one thing before I get off here. These are single vision glasses. I see distance everywhere in the lens. These are the best ones if you're going to use glasses with your telescope. If you decide to go with using your, you know, if you've got an astigmatism, because if you're nearsighted or farsighted, your telescope will be able to accommodate near or farsighted. That's not a problem. It's the astigmatism that can't be corrected. And if you decide that you want to use your glasses, don't try to use bifocals, because there you got to stay up in this area.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get single vision lenses, you can use it whatever head position you have. Just a hint, that's what I've got, single vision lenses. Okay.
Do your eyes ever get in, my vision sometimes gets, so to speak. I sit in the morning and scan the paper, and the glasses, the readers are ever handy. But sometimes, okay, do the headlines without, I'll do the copy with, but sometimes I don't need, I don't know, man, and I'll be 69 in like 12 days. So
I'm 69 right now.
there you go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just normally I don't wear glasses because I'm one of those who gets up in the morning and doesn't have to immediately put them on.
Yeah.
I just wondered if you have, are there moods to your vision? That, you know, the fluid, I don't know, whatever it is that causes.
You know, I used to have that before I had these lenses put in. Was like some days, coach says you're getting older. That's the reason why you need readers, because you don't have.
My eye and it's floating in there, so I see little flashes of light sometimes in the corner of my eye. Well, I have floaters too, so I don't know if that, and sometimes I get the same thing you have, it's like where it's like my eye's gonna see what it feels like seeing, whatever mood it's in.
Yeah.
But, I know some people, my mother has this from, the cornea gets cracks in it, so the fluid starts leaking out, I think, or in or something. And your vision starts getting cloudier and cloudier, so when you get these tests done on your eyes, when they take pictures of it, you don't see all the membranes and the tissue very clear. It's like all cloudy inside. And he tested me, and he said it's hereditary, but my brother and I are okay. He said, doctor said at our ages, my mid-60s, that would have shown up, you know, a little while ago. So that condition is hereditary, which can cause some vision problems. But that condition is hereditary, which can cause some vision problems. But I have the same problem with that. Sometimes my one eye just doesn't see well.
Have you seen an ophthalmologist? See,
Well,
that would be my suggestion. If you're having those kind of flashes, I would see an ophthalmologist, not an optometrist. Like, you know, the eyeglass
I
guy.
did see a retina specialist.
Okay.
She said the retina was okay.
Well, that would have been an ophthalmologist.
Yeah.
Because I had a
yeah.
detached
For the
retina.
record, could you just describe the difference between the two?
An
I'm never
ophthalmologist.
sure.
An ophthalmologist is a medical doctor that can perform everything a normal doctor can do, specialized in eyes. Surgery, they can also examine your eyes. They can do everything that an optometrist can do. An optometrist has a certain amount of training, I don't know how much it is, but he's just one that wants to fit you with glasses.
Right.
Correct your vision as good as he can. And And he'll also diagnose some things or give you a warning that, by the way, your retina looks bad or something else, but he's not qualified to do anything medically with your eyes. Basically, his solution is give you another pair of glasses. That's the difference, really.
Just a quick question then. So you say now you can see up close better than, or closer objects clearer than further away objects?
Yes.
So like the planets look so much clearer than a galaxy, is that what you're saying? No, don't answer that.
It's all far.
Yeah, astronomical distances, it's all the same. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, if you're gonna upgrade to a new eyepiece or a couple eyepieces from the ones you had, maybe when you bought your scope, there's three main specs that you need to look at. If you're gonna spend more money, because some of these get expensive. I mean, the TeleVue eyepieces go up to $600 a pop, more than you probably pay for a telescope. So if you're gonna go and get something and spend a couple $100, you better have it right. So the three issues are exit pupil, and I'll go through each of these, eye relief, and eye lens size. Okay, this shows us a diagram here. This is really showing an eyepiece. Now you'll see an eyepiece has a field lens at the bottom and an eye lens. Now most eyepieces are going to have 2, 3, 4, up to 7 or 8 lenses mixed in between. The first lens that the light sees and the eye lens, which is the one that you're going to look through. But they're just showing for clarity here, just the two. And the exit pupil really is, in each eyepiece is going to be different. It's going to be that there's a cylinder of light that comes out that has the full field of view that you're looking at. It's going to have a specific diameter. And here's the key now: when you're in a dark sky, your eye's going to dilate, okay, to try to open up more. Now, you know that when you go to an optometrist, he's going to put drops in. You know how horrible that is, because you want that wide open so you can see look at the back and see the veins in your eyes and make sure everything's fine. But that's going to vary with age, and it's also going to vary if you're out at Cherry Springs, your eye's going to dilate more than you are in your backyard here with light pollution, because if you have ambient light, you're not going to fully dilate unless it's, if you're in a truly dark site. And of course, with age, the maximum dilation varies. In other words, a child's maximum is 8 to 9 millimeters, okay, diameter that pupil will dilate to open. Young adults, 7.5, age 35 to 46.5 millimeter. So it's going down and down. Age 50 to 60, 6 millimeter or less. And age 60 to 80, 4.5 to 5. And that's an average values. And I said, it also is dependent on the ambient light conditions. So, right there, if you get an exit pupil that's coming out that's, say, 9 millimeters in diameter, and your exit pupil is only open at 5, when you look through that, you're gonna have to move to see the whole field of view. You're gonna have to move your eye around, and that's uncomfortable. And you spend a lot of money for these things. And so you have to be aware then of what that exit pupil is, depending on your age, because it's very uncomfortable. You're looking at that thing, and what you want to see a porthole in space. You want to see the whole field of view. But if the exit pupil, of course, is wider in diameter than what your eyes actually dilate to, you're not going to see. You're not going to see the peripheral of the full field of view. Now, the exit pupil is not specified by an eyepiece manufacturer. You don't see that specified. It's easy to calculate. And the exit pupil is equal to the eyepiece focal length, and that's written right on the eyepiece itself, as you all know, divided by the scope focal ratio. That's not the focal length now, it's the focal ratio, like an F5 scope or an F7, or like a Schmidt-Cassegrain is going to be an F11, okay? So just to give you some examples here you have now the larger the focal length, okay, that means the lower the magnification and the wider the field of view. So a lot of people like to get a nice wide field of view. If you're going to look at, extensive nebulosity and things like that. So you're going to get something that's a 25, 35, or 40 millimeters, okay? Well, that's good if you're kind of younger, but it may not be good if you're getting up in age. So look here, if you have an f5 scope, which is considered a fast scope, 35 millimeter eyepiece, the extra pupil is 7 millimeter. Go to a 40, which is going to give you a lower magnification, wider field of view, and f5 is going to be 8. And so you're going to be in trouble here if you're my age. I'm not going to see the whole field of view. I'm only going to see maybe 70% of that in a circle in the center, and I got to move my eye around. You move to an f7 scope, okay, 35 millimeter, the same eyepiece here. Now it's down to 5. Okay, I could use that if I have an f7 scope. Now my large Newtonians I have are f4.5 and f5, so I can't use anything probably more than 25 millimeter because I already know that. You know, I've done that and I've seen those problems early on. That's why 20 years ago I was, putting a lot of my eyepieces on AstroMark and buying other ones, because you kind of experiment. So I'm trying to let you avoid that problem if you're going to buy eyepieces. If you got a Schmidt-Cassegrain, usually about f11, f10. Now you can go to a 40 millimeter and you get 3.6. You're good to go, and you can use it just about any larger focal length or higher magnification, and you're okay. So that's an issue. So really, if you're really, my age or older than 60, then you got to really watch out. Depending on the focal ratio of your scope, that's very important in terms of it's going to be very uncomfortable. You'll notice you're looking there and you can't see the whole field of view. And you think, why spend a couple $100 bucks? I can't do that. Yes, Jim.
Well, how does this factor in for the 2-inch diameter?
It's the same thing. In other words, it doesn't matter. That just allows more light in, okay, because the cone is coming in.
Yeah. All
right, and so basically because they use the field stop in there, the edge of the eyepiece becomes really the field stop. So that's more light in. But it's not it doesn't matter whether it's a 1.25 or 2-inch to use this formula. Okay, it's going to be a specific cylinder of light coming out from that eyepiece design. As I said, I showed you they had 2 lenses in that diagram, but there's usually 5 or 6 in there, they get expensive.
So Tom, some of your older style eyepieces like a fossil, the more magnification you have, the smaller the hole is to look through.
I'm going to get
Is
into
that
it.
the same thing that you're talking about right
Well,
now?
no, this is different. Okay, this is purely because even in the small ones, are going to be specific. And the thing is, though, if you note here, if the eyepiece focal length for the higher magnifications, they're going to have a smaller eye lens. They're going to be the lower focal length. Okay, so it's going to be less than that. So therefore, you're going to have a smaller extra pupil anyways. You're okay. It's only when you're trying to get a wide field of view and a low magnification at the same time that you got to really be concerned about your age and what focal length telescope you're using. Okay, everybody got that one down. Execute. Now we got eye relief. Now this is specified when you're buying an eyepiece. Don't list that. The eye relief is okay from the top of that eye lens on the eyepiece. Where the full field of view is above that lens, and that's where you got to put your pupil to see the full field of view. So it's called eye relief to be able to see the full image. And if you wear glasses to observe, you need a longer eye relief because if the eye relief on the eyepiece is like less than 10 millimeters, which is like 3/8 of an inch, by the time you're trying to get your eyeglasses and the distance between your eye and your eyeglass is going to hit there, and you're not going to see the full field of view. Okay, so this is very important for somebody that has to wear eyeglasses. So when you're looking here, if the general rule of thumb is you wear glasses to observe, and you need to wear the glasses to observe. They have astigmatism. A long eye relief of 15 millimeter to 20 millimeter is recommended. Usually 20 is the best. That's almost an inch. So that way you can comfortably put the eye, because you're looking at that full image just above there, almost an inch above. So now you're going down. You don't have to push your eyeglasses. They're going to hit the rubber eye guard and everything else is very uncomfortable. So when you're look for something that's a long eye relief. Now also it says here for eye relief, as I mentioned, less than 10, your glasses are going to be an impediment. But if you don't wear glasses, 12 millimeter eye relief is ideal. And before you say, well, why not just have a 20 also? Well, you could, but the idea would be, you know, the rubber eye cup comes up about a half an inch, or about, you know, 12 and a half, 13 millimeters. The idea would be to be able to put your eye socket against that rubber, so you don't have it, and so, you know, that way you see the full view of the view. If you don't wear glasses, it's keeping ambient light on also. Because if you're going to be above that, then you're going to allow ambient light in, okay? And if you go closer, now you went below that field of view, you're going to see less, see? So that's why they're saying about 12 is very good if you don't need to wear glasses, but a 20 would be ideal for glasses, okay? And those, you know, the eye relief is always specified, so look for that. And of course, you know, with a good eye relief, and I'll get into the idea, the next one's going to be about the size of the eye lens. You know, you're talking multiple elements in there, and you're talking a larger lens, larger diameter lens is going to cost more money. So these things go up astronomically in price from what you usually get if you just buy a scope and they throw in a couple eyepieces. Okay, the last one is the eye lens size. So generally, though, you know, here's a set right here, and generally, if you buy like a Newtonian from Orion, they'll throw in two Plössl eyepieces, which are really on the cheapo side. So you'll see, like, they'll throw in a 25 millimeter, usually a 10. Okay, so it gives you, you know, a low magnification and a high magnification. And you'll see here the eye lenses are large for the larger focal length. But then you get down to a 10. Look how small that eye lens is, okay? And that could be a real problem, especially if you're having a child look through the telescope and they're trying to have a problem if they're young, trying to line their eye up with that anyway. And if you have a large eye lens, they can put their eye socket on that rubber cup, because now you've got a full, you know, eye lens that is very large. They'll be able to see it a lot easier. But this is a real problem, you know, when you're trying to look at higher powers. And here's just to give an example, like the Orion Sirius Plössl 10 millimeter, its eye relief is only 6.5. So that's really, so you got to get, if you got glasses, you're going to be really messed up, okay, if you have to wear them. But you look at the price, it's $35, because, you know, the eye lens is very small, and these are only usually a 2 or 3 lens total lenses in the eyepiece anyway. So when you're looking at, you know, upgrading, then you're going to have to look at examples of larger eye lenses. Here's Orion Expanse, and I have some ones here. Now the 20 is a full large lens there. It's almost an inch, okay? That's the 20. And here's a 9, same large lens. See? And I have a 6 here too, it's the same thing. So that way, when you're looking and saying, well, if I want to, you know, a higher magnification, I want to get maybe a 9 or a 6, okay, you can see the eye lenses are nice and large. But see, they cost more because you got to put more money into making that eye lens. These are like $100. So all you do is you take your 20 that gave you the low magnification, has a nice 1-inch eye lens. Okay, and all you do is pop that in to your Barlow and pop it in. Now you've doubled your power, but you still retain that nice eye lens. And you can do that. You just need one Barlow, because you have like 2 or 3 eyepieces. With a Barlow, now you got 6 magnifications, and you retain that large eye lens size. Okay. So really, summing this up, and I'll get into the problems with the eye, but so those 3 things: exit pupil. Okay, we really need that to factor in how much your pupil dilates. Okay. Eye relief, depending on whether you wear glasses or not, is important, and that's always specified. The other one you got to calculate. And then the eye lens itself. And like I said, you can either you know, spend the money on some eyepieces that have higher magnification, lower focal length. But you can also use a Barlow, and you get the Barlows, you know, good quality. It's not gonna interfere with any kind of resolution, but that saves you some bucks. Okay, considerations for those who wear glasses. Nearsightedness, farsightedness, Bob had mentioned that you don't have to worry about it. You can observe without wearing glasses because you can focus. Just by focusing, the telescope will compensate for nearsightedness or farsightedness. So that's not an issue. Astigmatism, that's an issue. Okay, and that's when I first started to get astigmatism, I've got look in my eyepiece and I've been looking in there, I'm seeing, these stars are pinpoints and they got little comets on them, and no matter how much I focus, and you tend to think that there's something wrong. Either I got to recollimate again, my mirror if it's a Newtonian, and you do that and you go, I still have a problem. You think, I got bad optics, I got crappy optics here. No, it's not, you got crappy eyes, that's what it is. So as soon as you put as soon as you put your glasses back on, focus, crisp, nice pinpoints. So it's really the issue where if you have astigmatism, you got to have something larger. They have rings that you can buy. They're $30 from Teleview that you can put over that, which will fit a dioptrix. So really, what the dioptrix is doing, when you go and have astigmatism, when you're looking at your prescription, it has a spherical and a cylinder. It's the cylinder. The cylinder is from 0 to 4, plus or minus. Okay, now mine's bad. Mine's like negative 3.0. Okay, so that's lousy eyes for astigmatism. But you can get these dioptrics in 0.25 diopters. So you can get them exactly to match your whatever eye you use for your observing that particular eye. Okay, and what this really does is all this is doing is saying it's taking your prescription and putting it in a lens that goes right over the eye lens of your eyepiece instead of having your eye lens from your glasses used that way. Then you can go right onto the eye. You can see everything, the full field of view, and everything else. You don't have to have glasses. Yes.
You have to turn it to orient it to whichever way.
Yes. In other words, when this will rotate and it has little marks on the side there. You get it in, you rotate it, and all of a sudden everything gets pinpoint, and you can lock it. Okay. And the thing about this is, you buy one for your prescription, you can use it on your other eyepieces if you're amendable to be able to, physically be able to put those on. So you only really need one of these. Okay, and you can use it for different types of eyepieces. And this, I have these for mine. I have a couple of them because I always use them. I don't want to keep taking it off and putting it back on. And these work fantastic for me. I mean, it's just.
Like a start party, because if someone else were looking into it, and.
See, that's a problem. If I'm at a star party, I take them off. Because people, then I just say, okay, you go ahead and focus yourself. Because I'm like, I have to take it off then. So when I go to a star party or we have a public Star Watch, I take my dioptrics off those and put the standard in there, and I just, I can still see. Stars don't become pinpoints, but I got to take it off because people are going to have, not going to have crappy vision like I have. So that's an option. They're only like, they range in $100 to $115 for one of them. You can use on multiple ones. And so that basically says I'm using eyeglasses, but in the form of a lens that fits over my eye lens of my eyepiece, and it really worked. Once you dial that baby in, it's like, wow, I don't have to wear glasses. So that's an option. So, but they don't fit on all different brands. So you have to, like I said, go to Cloudy Nights Forum and just say, does this fit on a Botter or whatever, Hyperion or Pentax or whatever kind of eyepieces you have, the guys, you get feedback. Oh yeah, they fit. Or you have to buy the metal insert that goes over it and use an Allen screw to put on. So, any questions? We got 15 minutes left.
Okay, I'd add one thing to this, and correct me if I'm wrong. I've always read this, and it seems to work on me. The wider, the narrower, I should say, the exit pupil is on the eyepiece, the finer detail you're going to see, because you're exposing fewer aberrations in your eye, which isn't just the lens, it's also the eye working as a system. So, like, I've got one eyepiece combination that has a 1 millimeter exit pupil. That's a tiny exit pupil. But man, is it great on the moon, and planets and things like that. But when I drop in another eyepiece I have, which is like 4.5 millimeters exit pupil, great for looking at big stuff, especially fuzzy stuff. Not so good for stars, planets, and moon.
Well, just like when you get the orthoscopic lenses. The old orthoscopics,
Yes.
eyepieces, they're great on planets.
Oh, yeah.
But they usually have very, very tiny eye lenses.
Yeah.
But boy, they're crisp view of those things. I mean, they date back 50 years. I still have a couple I do sometimes with planets.
I have one left. I'm not quite sure why I have it. Okay, folks. Remember, we gotta be out of here by 8. Otherwise, talk all you want. Visit.
Raise your hands for scooters.
Oh, yeah, scooters.
Are we eating out in the breezy part?
We'll see if we can get that going.
Yeah.
We'll request it.
We can, we'll try.
And Star Wars, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Okay. Yeah, don't forget, Star Watch next weekend.